Okay. So I've got a 9.6 25 book pre-screen to go through. These are all X-Men from the mid 1980s to early 1990s. And yeah, in my last 25 book pre-screen submission video that I posted out, I talked about how it took 147 days for those books to come back. They are all modern books printed in the last couple of years, and the return on them was 20 out of 25. So, pretty good, right? Not perfect, but pretty good. These books were mailed off to CGC on October the 4th, and they came back yesterday, which was November the 18th. So today's Friday, the 19th. Yeah. So we went from 147 business days to 34 business days. But it gets better. If you read the title of the video, this has got to be the worst 25 book pre-screen that anybody has ever gotten back. Now I know James over at Mint Hunter Comics, he had a disastrous one come back. He got 12 out of 25, which is pretty bad. I mean, my worst up to this point has been 15. And then Skeff, on his channel, he talked about his worst ever, which was 9 out of 25. This is worse than Skeff's. So I'm really not looking forward to this, but transparency is transparency, and you just can't celebrate the successes. Sometimes you got to celebrate the failures as well. So this took a total of 34 business days. So we went from 147 business days to 34 business days. And I knew this was a terrible return when I got the credit card billing, and it was $200 less than it should have. Yeah, $200 less than it should have been. So I knew I was in trouble. Okay, so usually when you get a 25 book pre-screen back, it's a pretty big box. It's like this long, right? This is what I got back. Yeah, this is what I got back. Now I know that CGC has had some issues with quality control. I know that they've had issues with getting enough staff. I know that they've hired a ton of people. But I'm not sure what to say about this, so we're going to take a look. Now, I have had books damaged in the past at CGC on site, so I don't know what I'm going to see when I open this. But I am going to focus primarily on the books that didn't make the cut. So there's going to be a switch up of the angle on this video. But okay, so let's open this up. And let's just see what we're going to get out of this. So currently I have 19 invoices between sitting at CCS to received in some form or another to grading, encapsulation. A bunch of those are going to be signature series events because I've really gotten into those of late. But I do have, I do have some more pre-screens that are there. I'm just not sure after this, like, what I'm going to see. What am I going to get back? So, here's the invoice. So when you get this invoice back, it doesn't really show you grades or anything for those of you who don't know. Alright, so, raw books inside, that's box number 1. They actually have 2. There's so many books that came back. So our book count on this is the second one. Our book count on this is 6 out of 25 came back. And this isn't 9.8. Oh, no. This is 9.6. Now, in my last video, I mentioned how excited I was for these because these are all for my PCs, which is why I had them at a 9.6. These have been in my personal collection since they were printed, when I picked them up as a teenager. Alright, so let's just pull them out one by one. So the first one is going to be Uncanny X-Men 157. at a 9.8. Awesome book from 1982. 1982. I think I was in 6th grade. Alright, the next one that's going to come out is X-Men number 194 from 1985. We have a 9.6. Nice cover appearance of Nimrod. Yeah, John Romita Jr. Man, that guy's been doing books for a long time. You don't realize just how long some artists have been working until you look at their credits and the titles they've worked on, and you realize, shit, a lot of these guys are pretty old. X-Men number 200 from December of 1985. White pages. Another 9.6. Alright. And what's next? We only have 3 more books. Alright, let's get that cardboard out of there. Next one coming out is an X-Men number 206. White pages at a 9.6. Alright. Okay. Ooh, this is a nice book. This is X-Men 232 at a 9.8. Beautiful cover. Mark Silvestri. Dan Green cover and art. I like that a lot. Okay. Next one coming out. This is a beautiful Jim Lee cover. This is X-Men number 257 from 1990. Okay. And that is the first Jubilee appearance in costume. Little footnote there. Not really what I would consider to be a key, but it is Jubilee's first appearance in costume. Okay, so real quick, those are the ones that made the cut. We're gonna go with the first box. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for obvious defects. I have been collecting comics for over 40 years, ever since I was a little kid, and I really pride myself on taking care of my books. So I'm very interested to see if there's any obvious defects, because the last time that I got back a pre-screen, some of those books had obvious damage on them. So I want to take a really quick look and see, because there's possible stuff in here that I missed that would keep these below a 9.4. Or below a 9.6, I should say. Okay, so we got an X-Men 227. I do see a few minor spine ticks there, so that's possible that, you know, these just weren't in as good a shape. But I'm going to look for obvious damage to them. No, we got some spine ticks, but nothing major. So I don't know if they're being much more restrictive on their grading, because it is possible. I don't see any damage to this one. So this is X-Men 246. Right, 246. Like I said, these are all in amazing condition. But for whatever reason, they just didn't think that they could clear a 9.6 even with a non-breaking spine tick. X-Men 174. Again, if I see anything that's obvious, I don't know. I'm beginning to think that, I mean, looking through the first 5 of these books, that maybe these just have really small pressable defects that would have come out, because I don't see any real finger bends. And by the way, there's almost no notes. I think only one book had any notes on it out of 25. So they don't even tell you what technically is wrong with the book. So 186. No real spine ticks there, nothing that breaks color. 192. This would have really helped my graded run. Alright, you can see this one's a little wavy. which is weird because I don't remember it being wavy, but it's possible. Okay. Alright, X-Men 226. This next one does have a color breaking spine tick. Okay. So when you submit these books, you're going to pay now an $8 rejection fee, which is what I paid. It ended up costing me $343 to get 6 books graded. Okay, well, this one obviously I see why I did make a 9.6. This one is completely on me. Like, that's something I should have caught. And in fact, I think all of these books would have benefited from a pressing, and this return would have been something entirely different. Oh man, I'm really, really sad this one didn't make it. Yeah, this one has a couple of dents on it. See? You can see the dents right there. Okay. So honestly, this might be a case of some stuff slipping through the cracks when it comes to my initial review of these books and thinking that they would make a 9.6, because there's definitely been 2 of them so far that upon a second review I would never have sent in, not without getting pressed. And none of these were pressed. You can kind of see with this one, there's a non-color breaking spine tick. Okay. Alright, so with that being said, I'm just going to show the rest of the books that didn't make the cut. I'm not going to do an in-depth analysis or anything of them because I think it's pretty easy to see at this point that there were minor things that I missed. And so this is one of those that I really have to take responsibility for. Like, this was not a good return, and it's obvious as to why it's not a good return for me, even at a 9.6. Alright, so we have a 195. 195 looks pretty good. I do see one light finger bend at the top, which could have been enough to keep it from making the grade. Alright, then we have 193. Ooh, 193 looks really good. I believe very minor finger bends at the top. Right there. I think that's the first warpath. My memory serves me correct. Now, I get a lot of questions from friends as to why I don't have more copies of like key 80s books. And one of the reasons why, okay, so this is 181. Non-breaking color, or non-color breaking spine ticks. Right? One of the reasons why I don't have a ton of keys from the 1980s is because back then I wasn't buying multiple copies of very many books. It was really rare to buy more than one copy. So I didn't really know anybody who did that. Nobody really hoarded comics. We just collected runs. Right now everybody's trying to buy 20 copies of the same book. Okay, so you can see how this would definitely, and that's a printing issue there. That's not anything that I would have done. And very, very, very light spine ticks, but nothing to break the color. Okay. I believe this is a Paul Smith cover. Callisto and Storm going at it. And again, I don't see any major defects, which means all of these can benefit from a simple pressing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish reviewing the last couple of books. There's only a few left. And then I am going to get these pressed and then resubmit these books. Well, probably the vast majority. Now this one, this is too bad. This does have 2 small spine ticks. Right there. If those spine ticks can come out, I have no problem hitting a 9.6. Alright, so we got 164. This is a big book for the character for binary because it's Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel becomes binary. So she kind of goes cosmic. I hated this costume. I thought it was terrible. Okay story. It just looks like she's wearing a swimsuit. Okay, then we got an homage to Aliens. On this cover, more Brood action. And again, this one has very minor finger bends at the top. Pressable. And the last one is going to be issue 218. 218. I don't think that's the first appearance of Mr. Sinister, but I could be wrong. Alright. And then you can obviously see that. Okay. So, yeah, upon review, and that's not even a defect. It just has pressing issues. Okay, so literally every one of these books, had they been pressed before being shipped off for a 25-book pre-screen, I think that they would have made the cut. They would have made at least a 9.6. So, lesson to be learned. Yeah, press your books. If you're gonna invest the money into getting them graded by CGC, press them. I don't think a single one of these books was damaged at CGC. I think this is some oversight on my part, and maybe a bit of wishful thinking that they could make 9.6s. But upon a second review, yeah, all of those books should have been pressed before they were sent off. So that is entirely on me. So, if you've learned anything from the mistakes I've made, press your books. Because I tell you what, I'm really glad I got these other books back. But at $343 for 6 books, I ended up paying right around $50-something each. Which is still cheaper than if I just bought them off of eBay. I mean, let's be fair. If you could get 6 graded books from an X-Men run from, the 1980s to 1990 for $50 a book, you would pretty much buy them, right? Pretty good investment. All right, so this is Mark, otherwise known as SCP Omega Prime. It's Friday. Comics and coffee. Read what you love. Collect what you love. Enjoy the time you got. Share your great stories. Yeah. And if you want to, like, comment, subscribe, and I will respond to those as soon as I can. Alright. Have an awesome weekend. It's a rainy day in Sacramento. Alright. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.